Wonderful. We are recording. Very good. Okay, welcome everyone. Lovely to have you all here in your individual Hollywood squares. My name is Caitlyn Shea, and I'm the executive director for Walt Whitman Birthplace Museum. We are so excited to be welcoming you from all different places today. Usually we have George Wallace, the founder of this program, with us, but unfortunately he wasn't able to be here. But we have Deborah Hauser, who is a magnificent hostess and a poet herself. So I'll be introducing her in just a second. I do want to add, we're so thankful to these poets for joining us, for making all of these entertaining readings with us. I do want to say also thank you for everyone who's watching them, who's engaging with poetry, with art. As you know, it's a very, very difficult time for museums right now. Every little bit of donation really goes a long way for us, especially if we're able to multiply it by everyone who watches these videos. So we would just appreciate any amount, or if you became a member, there's lots of perks to membership as a business member or a personal member. We do private tours, or even if you're far away, there's ways that we can make you feel like a part of this place, the house that Walt Whitman was born in. All right, so I'm going to start us off by introducing Deborah. Deborah Hauser is the author of Anui, from the Diagnostic and Statistical Field Guide of Feminine Disorders. Her poems and book reviews have appeared in Miss Magazine, Women's Review of Books, the Kenyon Review, Prairie Schooner, Bellevue Literary Review, Calix, and Academy of American Poets, Poem a Day. She received a Pushcart Prize nomination from TAB, the Journal of Poetry and Poetics. She has taught literature and writing at Stony Brook University and Suffolk County Community College. She curates and hosts a monthly poetry reading series at the Babylon Village Arts Council Jack Jack's Coffee House. And she was honored at the birthplace for this. She served as the Poet Laureate of Suffolk County, New York from June 2023 to 2025. And she's part of our family at the birthplace. So I'm so happy she could do this for us today. And I'm handing it over to you, Deborah. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlyn, for that lovely introduction. And thank you, Bonnie, for running the tech behind the scenes here for us. Greetings from the Walt Whitman Birthplace Association, and welcome to the continuation of Season 4's Triangulation Journey, Poets Building Bridges. I'm Deborah Hauser, your host today, filling in for George Wallace. George had a conflict and couldn't be with us. I have big shoes to fill. Poets Building Bridges is produced by Poetrybay Productions for the Walt Whitman Birthplace and has been led by George Wallace, who is the Birthplace writer in residence for 15 years. On George's behalf, I want to thank all the poets and guests for joining us on this journey. I want to again thank Bonnie for the technical assistance and Caitlyn for everything she does at the Birthplace. I want to thank George for the continuation of this program and for all that he contributes to the Birthplace and to poetry throughout our community as well as worldwide. So I'm excited to have 3 groups coming together here today. We have 3 communities: my community from Babylon, New York. We have Christine's community from Indiana. And we have Mick Mezza's community all the way from Australia, where it's very early on Sunday morning. So special thank you to them for being up so bright and early so that they could join us and connect with us. Each group will have 30 minutes. The chat room is open. If you want to respond in the chat room, or if you want to share your social media contact or information about your books or anything you want to share, please use the chat to do that. I will introduce Mick, and then I will turn it over to Mick and his group. Mick Mezza from Australia has self-published Worlds Apart poetry, 5 Shorties short plays, and Leo's Road to Football, a children's book. He has performed poetry in Australia, Italy, England, and Greece, and has his poems translated into Italian, Greek, and Chinese. Please welcome Mick Mezza.
Good morning. Good morning from Australia. Our first poet is Joe Dolce. Joe is an Australian-American composer, poet. He was the winner of the 2017 University of Canberra Health Poetry Prize and the 25th Launceston Poetry Cup. His work has been published in selected Best Australian Poems 2015 and 2014. He's also published poetry books and a cookbook. Welcome to Joe. Hello, Joe. It's your turn to read. Unmute yourself.
Hello? Heather?
Yes.
Okay. First poem is a sound poem based on the mispronunciation of Vincent van Gogh's name. In America, we were told it was Vincent van Gogh, and then when I got to Belgium, I heard it was Vincent van Gogh. So I thought I'd write a villanelle, which has alternating rhymes. Kind of a tongue twister. I've got to concentrate it. You don't do this one when you hit too many single malts. I dreamt I saw Vincent van Gogh. I dreamt I saw Vincent van Gogh happily married in Soho, living with his wife in a loft. No one mocked him, no one scoffed. In tie and tails at the art show, I dreamt I saw Vincent van Gogh. Both ears intact, neither cut off. He made his fortune long ago, living with his wife in a loft. Chain smoking Gaulois, a chronic cough, in three-piece suit and red chapeau. I dreamt I saw Vincent van Gogh. He'd had enough and called it off. Broke up with his brother, Theo, to live with his wife in a loft. He died a dandy in a talk, his art acclaimed around the globe. I dreamt I saw Vincent van Gogh living with his wife in a loft. So that's the first one. Does that come through okay?
Yes.
Everyone can hear okay. So the next one is another similar kind of thing. Well, this is about the mispronunciation. Well, actually, Dr. Seuss changed his name. He used to be Dr. Seuss when he was German. So he said he wanted to a more anglicized pronunciation because it evoked a figure more advantageous for an author of children's books. So I wrote this poem in the style of Dr. Seuss, called The Dr. Seuss That Changed His Voice. The Dr. Seuss that switched his voice did not rejoice. A flag of truth, constant misuse by the obtruth, stop that abuse. I'm Dr. Seuss. His German voice was much too moist, so Dr. Seuss made a choice. Like Mother Goose, now I'm Seuss. The American Seuss is apple juice. Not Rolls or Royce, not Dr. Seuss. Just call me Seuss. No more excuse for making noise about my voice, so now I choose to introduce not Bruce or Zeus, but Dr. Seuss. The American muse found Dr. Seuss, but Goose, the voice of Dr. Seuss. So there's some funny ones. Now, this is a short one. It just got published yesterday, although it was written 16 years ago. It got published by a mostly Catholic Christian magazine, which I thought was really surprising on its nature. It's called New Names. Zeus, Ra, the Great Spirit, the Ami. These are some of the old names of God. Some say they are unnecessary now that we have the present names: Allah, Jehovah, Muhammad, the last prophet, Jesus, the way. But why are we stopping here? Are we tired from running? What if we turn backwards, rest a while, spending time with the old names, then slipping either further back with reverence for the forgotten names, and continue on walking toward the new? That one will get me a fatwa, no doubt. Okay, so now we've got, this is one when I was a small child. Something happened to me when I was in the winter with my pet, called Frozen Kittens. They're not staying in the house. My mother, fearful of ammonia, urine sprayed carpets of spinster ants. So 3 twiggy-eyed kittens go out into the pink garage. My carpenter dad builds a wooden hut with a whole door opening onto a paper half cardboard box. I feed them milk, table scraps, mashed spaghetti, canned fishy food. That weekend, 4 feet of snow forces my father awake to light the coal. At dawn, shoveling a white corridor to the pink garage. I carry my saucer of warm milk, push my hand into the dark cat hole, feeling the cold, hard things. I pull my fingers back as though frostbit. Without looking, turn, hurry back through the snow tunnel to the warm kitchen, again uncertain of the universe, praying for school. This next poem we'll go over to my favorite poet, Constantine Cavafy, who I've been working on since I was 19 years old. I wrote my first song about him when I was 19. This is called the Cavafy Villanelles, which are from my last book of poetry at the Noisy Cafe title poem. And they're written in Cavafy's tag, as you can see. So this is called At the Noisy Cafe. He sits alone at the noisy cafe, old age wound from a terrible night. He was younger, it seems, just yesterday. The hair dye has hidden most of the gray. How suddenly it came, this change of life. He sits alone at the noisy cafe. A table for one, a vase and bouquet, without children or companion or wife. He was younger, it seems, just yesterday. He gives friends photos of his younger days to help them recall him in kinder light. He sits alone at the noisy cafe. He's thrown so many early poems away, clearly too consumed with lust then to write. He was younger, it seems, just yesterday. Now almost transparent, thoughts far away, a breeze of eros sweeps past in the night. He sits alone at the noisy cafe. He was younger, it seems, just yesterday. We all know where that one comes from. Oh, another villanelle here. Let me know when my 6 minutes is up. I like villanelles because being a songwriter, I found that this structure is really good for writing up the words first and then sending them to music. So you get the poem that stands alone on the page, and then it becomes a great song. So my goal is always, as a poet, to write a better song lyric, but you write a lot of poems. So this is the day the law decreed they wear the stars. How could they know? No one could see that far. At first, spat on our curse, they crossed the street, and then the law decreed they were the star. 2 triangles, an amber avatar. Not to comply meant heavy penalty. How could they know? No one could see that far. A badge of shame, all movement to disbar, to segregate, command, control, complete. The day the law decreed they were the star. Intended to humiliate, to mark, identify the inferior, cheat. How could they know? No one could see that far. The September 1st, 41 nightmare, the distancing, the whispering on the street. The day the law decreed they were the star. King David's shield, the hexagram crossbar, a coarse yellow cloth, the garish maltreat. How could they know? No one could see that far. The day the law decreed they were the star.
Thank you, Joe. That was
Is that it?
wonderful. That's it. Thank you, Joe.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I'm going to have to get back to work, but I'll look forward to seeing you all on YouTube.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Thanks for that. That's
All
Joe from Melbourne. Next, thank you, Joe. We have Helen Jarvis. Helen is a Melbourne-based poet whose first book of poetry, The Kindness of Water, was published in March this year by Five Islands Press. She has won the Nillumbuk Poetry Frasers and the Ada Cambridge Awards and was a runner-up in the 2024 Gwen Harwood Poetry Prize. Her work has appeared in Australian anthologies and in Rabbit and Island magazine. Welcome, Helen.
Thank you. Lovely to see everyone. I'm really looking forward to sharing all the poetry. The first one I'm going to read is based on some time I spent for a couple of years, and this is about traveling in the Western Province. It's called Liuwa Plains. Early we come through grasslands, with the churn and bounce of the four-wheel drive deep in our bones. The youngest curled in sleep on the back seat. And dawn smooths out her glory before us. Over the spread horizon, sky, a luminous pink across the unmarked land. In silhouette, suddenly, with ears as large as saucers, 6 wild dogs break out of 2 dimensions. We slow, we barely speak. Their ears appear to quiver as air around a tuning fork. They weigh our borrowed wheels, our relevance, then lope off unimpressed. The engine idles in a world fine-grained and glowing, the raw earth turning on the stillness of our breath. Thank you. I've been living in Australia for 20 years, came from England. I have just brought out my book, which is The Kindness of Water. There are a number of poems in here about the experience of migration and having permanently one foot at either end of the world. This one is called Different Gods. Last night was rain. Streets ran black with it, tram lines shiny with threat. Overnight, parched dirt gulped down a deluge tinged with ash, emerging green and changed. Restore to me the wild spreading permanence of heather and gorse, lichen clamped to clotted soil, skies the colour of pewter, a brook trickling over rough basalt as lark springs upwards, defying gravity, live streaming a torrent of song, where the sly north wind rips the salt from your eyes. My children have not known this. The gods here have no hoofs. Next poem was written during the early days of COVID, when the papers were full of images of the stranded ambulances and just too many people to deal with. But it draws on Scottish Selkie myths where seal children would look human but would have telltale webbing between their toes. So this is called Paramedic. Nearing the end of a shift, I was taking the corners fast, with the empty sidewalks looming at us from thick river fog. A morgue run, the last that icy night. No moon and my vehicle running on empty. We carried out the stretcher. It felt light. A corner slithered from my grip. It tipped down and the blanket slipped to show a pallid foot. Behind my safety guard, I blinked. It's hard to tell you what I saw. The pale, webbed swirl of flesh between her toes. Delicate whirls of lucent membrane. Surely some ancient magic. I cursed my clumsy fingers, felt all the coarseness of my paramedic gloves. Raged at the freezing blast of sleet that dared to wet the luminous flesh. I glimpsed the dogged appetite of death with its imperative to thresh out all our hidden stories. This wonder bared, and me with all my imperfections spared. I'm going to do another poem which is about migration. This one is called Return. As slowly as clouds roll across these wheat fields, as salt as the air that skims this mudflat country, I know this place. Know it the way a child knows, from the ground up and bodily, poking a stick into softened tar lines as the road surface sweats, running my fingers through long grass, knowing which seed heads will peel off sweetly between thumb and forefinger, which will resist and clump. I'm a visitor now. To know is not to belong. I've slung myself like a frisbee outwards to swerve and fall. My daughter asks where she belongs, and I cannot say. I come back to this culture of seed-haired and hedgerow and the gaps between branches that I've failed to give her, that inhabits me like the hum of small bugs, as commonplace as nettles or tangles of mallow, as clinging as goosegrass or the scent of damp leaves. This last poem is a prose poem. I spent last year looking after my mother who has dementia, and this is one from that time. I wash my mother's hair. My mother bends her head over the basin. Her skull seems frail as a scrap of bird's egg, and I cover the hard metal tap with my hand. Hair spreads out red in the water, the red that was once the shade of the carp in old Japanese woodblocks, the red that skipped me but found my daughter, that fans out in the sink now like fine printed fishtails. I lather the shampoo and her scalp is exposed, bony and unfamiliar. I run fresh water in a plastic bowl, trying its temperature with my elbow as I would when bathing an infant. My mother feels warmth running over her head from my hands. She murmurs at the kindness of water that can for a moment rinse off time and memory. I scoop up her dripping hair, folding it into a towel that dwarfs her. She straightens and peers up at me with unclouded eyes. Thank you. I look forward to hearing the rest.
Thank you, Helen. Next, we have Tug Dumley, who's from Sydney, New South Wales. He's a poet performer. He has worked much in radio, notably in the ABC in Australia and in schools. His awards include the Banjo Patterson Prize for Comic Verse twice and the Nimbin Performance Poetry World Cup thrice. His poems have also won the Baranga Poetry Prize, the Warilla Poetry Prize, and the prestigious Bruce Dorr Poetry Prize. His first poetry book, Sun Songs, came out in 2018, and in 2024 he released a book of short poems called Tag Poems from Five Islands Press. Welcome, Tug.
You're on mute, Tug.
Tug, unmute, please.
All right. Is that unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you. It's lovely to be here. It is early on Sunday morning in Australia. And if an angry teenager storms down the stairs at some stage during my recital, don't be alarmed. It's just my son who I've woken up. But I'll try and be quietish if I can. I'm going to start with a few short poems from this book. It's called Tad Poems. And then I'll end with a couple of slightly longer poems. I think that's the plan anyway. This is a compilation of 400 short poems, kind of haiku-ish length things, but not really necessarily haikus, more aphorisms and epigrams and life support systems for puns and dad jokes and moments of sublime profundity as well, I must say. I probably won't give you any sublime profundity right now, but I'll just read a scattershot of these poems. I peaked years ago and was brilliant. No one saw. They were all watching some stupid tree fall. For Marie Kondo. Kondo, Kondo, Kondo. Streamline, darling. Go minimalist, dear. She decluttered so well, she disappeared. She had sarcastic orgasms. He came, ironically, their love, an anticlimax. I rang my brother and said, "You need to escape the corporate world." He said, "Nonsense. By the way, this call may be recorded for quality purposes." He didn't die. He took eternity leave. Those who don't learn from history are condemned to repeat it. It's true. I repeated history 6 times at school. Lost Amazon tribe only discovers it's lost on the Discovery Channel. They order books online from Amazon.com to find out where they're from. The books were trees that used to hide them. Now everything's clear. Why do bad people happen to good things? Suffering is an answer in search of a question. We're so far apart on the political divide, we reach round and touch each other's backside. All right, a couple more of these and then I'll read something a bit longer. The US goes green. Solar-powered electric chair. Death row loves a rainy day. Fascists are like IKEA, easy to assemble, end up on the street. On the news, tragedies unfold. No one ever folds them and puts them away. And lastly, I've always been curious, when there is a disaster somewhere in the world, an earthquake, a volcano, a flood, thousands of people die in some country, and the newsreader always says, "No Australians are believed hurt." I just kind of find it weird. You know, there might be an individual Australian who was hurt. There could be, but 10,000 other people died. And I just find that curious. So this last one. The earth has been destroyed by aliens. No Australians are believed hurt. All right. Now something. Have I got time for another one? Probably one more. Yeah. Speaking of dictators and oligarchs, it's a very good time. They're trending very highly at the moment. But I thought, in many ways, they're just like you and me. They eat, they drink, they make cups of tea, and they listen to music. So this is called Private Lives of the Great Dictators. Joseph Stalin, in private moments, liked to hum the House of the Rising Sun. Chairman Mao in the shower sang, "I'm going to wash that man right out of my hair." A towel boy who mentioned it became thin air. Then there was Franco. He liked Joni Mitchell and bits of early Dylan. He used to belt out, "If I had a hammer," at phalangist fun nights. Of course, North Korea's Kim dynasty enjoy family karaoke, mostly the light country of Kenny and Dolly, but always finish with a sing-along of Teddy Bear's Picnic. Pol Pot was just mad for Graham Parsons and the Byrds. Gaddafi loved Steel Eye Span. Pinochet dug Kraftwerk and the Stooges, but had a real soft spot for McCartney's Ram. Contrary to rumour, Saddam Hussein's last request before the scaffold was not baklava, like his mama used to make, but Johnny Cash's long black veil. Hitler himself was a Bing Crosby junkie, and from the bunker phoned Sinatra a hail. Well, they were all music mad. Tojo like Dino, Tito like Toto, Sahato like Bono, and Castro, how much is that doggy in the window? Meanwhile, Putin's installed a jukebox in the Kremlin on which he crackles Appalachian tunes like I wish I was a mole in the ground. But at midnight he skips to Crimea River and feeds dimes to the final countdown. Suffice to say, dictators have a human pulse too, and they sure know what makes for great folk blues. Thanks.
Thank you, Tug.
My
That was
pleasure.
very entertaining and very witty. Thank you for
Thank you.
joining us from Sydney. Next, we have Amanda. Amanda's the author of Taking Apart the Bird Trap 2024 and The Inheritors in 2021. Amanda was a poet in residence for 3 years at the Monash University Climate Change Communication Research Hub and has been published in the Australian Poetry Journal, in Best Australian Science Writing, and the Massachusetts Review. Welcome, Amanda.
Thanks, Mick. Wonderful to hear Tug and Helen and Joe, and thank you so much for having me. I hope you can hear me clearly. I thought I would start with a short ekphrasis poem, which is actually based on a photograph by an Australian photographer called Jessie Imam, and it's of fox bones. And I thought, since our leaders sort of have a strange relationship with the truth at the moment, this poem would be a good one to start with. And it's called The Anatomy of Your Lie. There is a time when all will be laid out, cleaned and placed on unbiased white. Each method will be identified, dismantled and splayed. Every limb of the lie will be held to the light, the joints unhooked, the scapular and jawbone removed, the axis disturbed. Further rotation of truth will be disabled. Will you tell it then? Or will you walk as though your coat was still attached, your faux reality still intact, that torn, slipshod trick? So at the moment, there's a lot of talk about people replacing real human relationships with AI companions, and a lot of things happening with robotics at the moment. And I wrote this poem around 2020, but it feels more relevant now. And it's about a female robot, and it's called Lady Returned. What is the reason for your refund? Now to explain. The daily company of remoteness, the manufactured eyes of breakfast, and the grating predictability of lilting tones, the artificial rise and empty pause following a question, and the mockery in it, the vacancy at the core of her molded form, the eeriness of personally requested responses from a mouth of one's particular design, amid assurances of customer happiness and easeful but transition due to latest advancements in realistic softness technology. Yet, a rigid inner machinery is noticeable, adamantly jutting from beneath, the ill fit of her in his sleeping place. He craves a silly quip, the prattling of a fresh anecdote, an ungainly slip, a flash of side-eye in witness to his inadequacy. A kiss exhaling coffee or onion, a scratched finger, a gaze upon the verge of a subtle turn. He submits his feedback and leaves, relaxing into the unruly, tender street. So my latest book, Taking Apart the Bird Trap, I wrote after my father suddenly passed away. So it's a book about grief and childhood and memory. So I'm going to read a grief poem now, and this is called The Missing. These days, it does not happen upon the side of oranges or halva on the supermarket shelf, or when I walk past the cafe table where we sat with coffee and sandwiches after your brain scan, or when I obscure myself among your plants outside our old house, now with other people moving around inside it, who, surely by now, have seen me wrapping my hands around their pink geraniums and bottle brush. It happens now when I return home from being unseen or mistaken, when the room I am inhabiting is strangely bare of a dry, impudent, or short-sighted remark. When I have not yet experienced a belly-aching joke, then there you are, sitting in me like the limestone in the La Pietra you're born near, sturdy, mulish, silent but listening, a rough-hewn, quite-failed, absurd version of everything I've ever wanted in a person. That's for my father. Thank you. I've written a lot of climate poems, and I'll read one now. I was born in Melbourne, and around the time of 2019, 2020, we had a bushfire crisis in Australia, and there was even smoke in a highly urbanized environment like Melbourne. And so I've been writing through that time about climate and the domestic and on your doorstep realities of climate change. But this is one called Change of Play. When the playgrounds are closed, the children will not miss the slide and swing of fingers on painted metal. They'll meet adventures waiting in the space they now find themselves. When their screens die, they'll spin dizzily in lounge rooms, part and twist rug fibers into skyscrapers, scarecrows, or forests of warriors fighting off brambles and perils in a strange land. Their mothers almost smile as their whole backyard converts to rivers, as the kids giggle and pretend they are some version of Swamp Thing, float on the surface, mimic detached Arctic ice. Some will stick twigs in floating pots to make them sailboats, setting out on a voyage on new waves, turn rubbish bin lids into islands and cast sunshades into shorelines. In a moment, unwashed and their schedules strangely tilted, after a short sulk at the unexpected departure, they will look around in fascination at a changed world in our eyes, but the only known world in theirs. Thank you. Do I have time for a really, really short final poem, I think? Maybe Mick, yes? I'm just going to
Go, really short one.
Yeah, very short one. This is called Wing, as in bird wing. Birds feature a lot in this book. Wing. At the beginning of outstretch, there is a contraction from the keel, an anchorage in the breast. Lift is created by altering air. The central vein hits the wind and the upstroke for the thrust. The only posture is that of crucifixion in a glisten of black and blue and red. The open-mouthed dependency of the bristling nest is far behind. There are many destinations. The sky is the resting place. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you to George, Deb, and the Walt Whitman Birthplace for reaching out to the poets from Australia. It's over to you now, Deb. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mick, Joe, Helen, Tug, and Amanda. Especially thank you to all of you in Australia for being up so darn early. Now we're going to move to Indiana, and the compare is Chris Dean a storyteller, spoken word artist, and self-proclaimed magpie poet who writes from the heart of Indiana, where they live with their husband, dog, and too many cats to mention. I'm hoping we'll get a glimpse of at least one of those cats. Along with Wendy Cartwright, Chris is co-founder of Keeping the Flame Alive magazine and the Columbus Acoustic Music and Poetry Monthly Open Mic. Their work has been featured online in multiple print anthologies, and they are the author of 2 books of poetry, Tales from a Broken Girl, and We're All Stories in the End, published by Storylines Press. Please welcome Christine.
Hi, thank you so much for having us here today. The group of Indiana poets that I have with me today are all have worked tirelessly to build bridges through poetry and encourage others to do the same. They are also poets who have helped inspire and shape the work I do with the community. So we'll start off with Curtis Crisler is an award-winning poet and author, born and raised in Gary, Indiana. He's an advocate for literacy and creator of the Chitlin Circuit that brings poets from all walks of life together for round-robin poetic conversations. He's published 6 books of poetry, 2 young adult novels, and 5 poetry chapbooks, is a former co-editor of poetry for the Museum of Americana, professor of English at Purdue University of Fort Wayne, and our state of Indiana Poet Laureate. So Crisler, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone, for being here, for having us. I'm so happy to be here. I'm just going to get into it. This first one is from my latest book, doing drive-bys on how to love in the Midwest, and it's called Skin Rash. My body, medical scar. My body, mental scar. My body, ancestor. My body, repercussion. My body, keloid. My body, varicose. My body got mouth on it. My body, see my body, my body. My body, shatterproof. My body, soft tissue. My body, platypus. My body, peacock. My body, not your body. My body, target. My body, focal point. My body, wants she's body. My body, erect. My body, immediate. My body, deterred. My body, reprobate. My body, clickbait. My body, I said. My body, escape. My body, cinematic. My body, war. My body, fire. My body, squall. My body, sparrow. My body, retro. My body, not your body. My body, calabash. My body, bitterroot. My body, chicory. My body, questions. My body, questions. My body, storyteller. My body, stretch. My body, protest. My body, confess. My body, undertow. My body, thrash. My body, hot take. My body, burning bush. The next poem I'll go to is called Born into Chaos. And it's looking at the deaths and lives around when I was born. 3 years and a day after Norma Jean Mortensen overdosed into her great sleep, I was born. I was born later in the year El Hajj Malik El Shabaz's body ate bullets. I was born before Martin's word slid across his mustache off Lorraine's ledge. I was about 3. I was born before the operatic mafioso erasing of Robert Kennedy. I was 3 and some change. Filling time with the age of Aquarius, filling space with us landing on dark side of moon, fill in the hypotheticals with Woodstock, Mayor Hatcher, Vietnam. Smell the white and black clouds puffing, the lime stench of the city losing its strength. Here I was placed like a matchbox child with a face of soot and lungs on fire. Here, my mother was born, with a face of soot and lungs on fire. Here we live in the city of steel, slowly oxidizing into its burgundy. And these next two, I'm moving into this thing with the moon. January 31st, 2012, Night Eye. Last night, the moon fell on me. Yeah, the moon fell. I got all its weight, my face against concrete, the bulging body of the moon flubbing against my buttocks, copying a feel, touching odd places deep inside my keep out of this compartmental space of inhabitability. I can't even say it. Inhabitability. Is the moon the man? I thought out rash implications and what I would tell my mother about being molested by the moon. Yeah, the moon fell on me, and all I had to give was my husk. But the moon refused it. The molestation was not molestation. It was frustration, the sad and lonely. If I had no fingers or hands or arms, how would I greet others? How would I ask for hugs, reaching down into the night from one big owl eye? And how would earthlings accept me when we are so ugly, a reflection of us? And I'll end with this under the moon tableau. Fireflies on Interstate 30. We all packed up 3 cars deep to head into the darkness for Red Lobster. After my oldest niece graduated from Thea Bowman Leadership Academy. We waited too late on CP time, so we had to wait for tables, for a buzzer to light red. The Heat played Spurs, game 4. Outside and parking lot, we amped up, 14 folks strong, not counting other couples, families. The small niece wanted to race the middle niece, I-30 at their backs. Then the oldest niece, Miss Graduate, kicks off her flips and runs down middle sister. The breeze shoves our heads. Every face in the parking lot smiles at the sisters racing, knows how youth needs to howl under blue, black magic sky. My family's a bit loco, but this night shared the good side of crazy. I looked to my sister who gave us 3 heavy-handed, sharp-tongued, reaching for things beyond Gary, Indiana girls. That's why we push, rings throughout my head. That's why I sizzle a smile towards my sister. My sister catches it, examines its intent, returns my smile with some heat on it. Since I was the only male in our house, I taught her how to throw a tight spiral. How strange she taught her girls to neon light the dark. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Curtis. That was amazing. Our next poet is Ron Whitehead. He's actually an Indiana transplant from Kentucky. He's dedicated his life to traveling the world, giving readings, performances, and organizing thousands of events, many with a focus on introducing new voices. He is a poet, writer, editor, wow, I lost my spot. Professor, scholar, activist, author of over 30 books and albums, and a U.S. National Lifetime Beat Poet Laureate. Ron, I give you now the mic.
Thank you, Chris. The Great Blue Heron of Quasar Poetry. I sit alone reading an old Western, The Big Sky by A.B. Guthrie Jr., a brilliant book. Well, I'm not alone. My blue heeler, Barry, is asleep, snoring at the other end of the couch. Blues outside. chasing squirrels, birds are singing. Fall has arrived here on the banks of the great river. The days are warm and sunny, the nights are full of stars, no rain in sight. I was born under a tree in an open field in the midst of a blizzard that included lightning and thunder in the age before time began. On the day I died, the storm passed, the weather became calm, clear skies like today. That's when my life really got started, back when I became wind and water and earth and sky and fire, one with all of nature. I can't begin to describe to you what it's like. You'll have to try it on your own. I recommend it. There's nothing else like it. Forgiveness and moving on are central. Confess all your wrongs. Write them on the sandy beach and watch them wash away. That's how we work here in nature. All is forgiven. Nature always moves on in dramatic and peaceful fashion. No calendars here. Time was, time is, time will be. Doesn't figure. There's no time in nature, no religion, no politics, lots of angels singing, accompanying crickets, frogs, whales, seals, lions, tigers, bears, wolves. You get the sound picture. Dig it. Nature is the real, genuine, original groove. Nature is easy and smooth and wild and crazy and cataclysmic. Nature is the most natural thing on earth. Go ahead and sign up. What a trip. Writing is the great escape from despair and madness. Writing is the untrammeled path to the wilderness of good dreams come true. If every writer in every book in your public library and local bookstore found a way to do it, then so can you. So go ahead and do it. Start writing and keep writing, no matter what anyone says, no matter how hard the wind blows, the fires rage, and the waters flood. Write it all down. Never stop writing. Brief pauses for morsels of food and drink. That's it. Don't quit. You are more determined than a mother fox finding food for her hungry young. Determination is central. Be sunlight in snow. Be peace in war. Be grace in anger. Be hope in hopelessness. Be belief in criticism. You don't have to spit in their eyes. Just keep doing what you're doing, and that is to write and write and write. Write longer than the longest distance runner. You are filled with honesty and realness, nothing else. You speak only the truth that is in you, no other words. Your words are a blessing somehow, somewhere, to someone, especially right now, to yourself. Write them down. Empty yourself. There is no bottom to your pockets. The words in your pockets are more vast than all the galaxies in outer space. You are the quasar beyond all imagined quasars. You are the great blue heron of quasar poetry. Sing it proud and strong. Be your own damn self now and from now on. Beyond paying for your basic needs, what's the use of all that money you're killing yourself to earn? Rebirth yourself into the person you always dreamed of being. What are you waiting for? Someone to give you the word? Okay, I'm giving you the word. Find and be your dream. Now, the waiting is over. Your time has come at last. And there's no time like now, ever. Nothing is as satisfying as being a poet. Take up your pen and write and never look back. Be touched by words and sing your poems with soul. I got one more for you. A meditation on being an outlaw poet, the ending of time, an alchemical rant. To live outside the law, one must be honest. Dylan said it, the ragged saint of grace. To live beyond the cage, you must be true as moonlight on an outlaw's face. Time was, time is, time will be no more. It's the Big Bang epiphany and the gap between thought and image. Voices racing through my veins, blood whispering, bones pleading, nerves laughing in electric prayer. A tetrameter of I ams marches, shouting, decoding symbols in gold, alchemy in the mouth of night. The book becomes the sacred elixir. Mon cher du livre, eat the book. The words will set you free. The shortest distance between 2 points is creative distance. And Alan Howes, I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed. Diane rants, the only war that matters is the war against the imagination. Baraka chants, they have turned and say that I am dying. Burroughs chews his naked lunch. Corso pours gasoline. Amram hums Pull My Daisy. Hunky bleeds in hospital light. Cassidy dies naked on the rails. Ferlinghetti paints pictures of the gone world. And Jack Jack is still on the road. Mysterium tremendum, Gnostic tremors, holy static between pulses, years of howl and chant, of weeping art and broken bones, the beat saints writing rebellion in blood. The authorities told me, you don't fit, you ain't shit. Wouldn't you be better off dead? But I refused. I turned away from tyrants, from ghosts, from graves, and with peace in my chest, a snarl on my lips, I walked through the sewered corridors of the dead to fell as no other would dare. That's faith. That's crime divine. To breathe the rhythms of despair and rise at the ending of time. In the gap between thought and image, I hover, watching the body, my body, below, skin, blood, nerves, all just going through motions, believing in time while drifting beyond it. Here I am, out of sync, beyond chaos, breathing the cosmic pulse, becoming the distance that creates closing time. I enter the upper chamber, the crystal tip of the golden pyramid, the confluence of all streams. Thelos feeds herself, and as I float over the open sarcophagus, I am one with the earth, one with the sacred wisdom, one with the dream, one with the fire, one with the crystal, one with the creative forces of the universe, one with the ocean of consciousness. That's it for me. Thank you, Chris. Thank you all. It's an honor to be here with you.
Thank you so much, Ron.
Thank you.
So our next poet is John Hinton, who describes himself as a creative exploring the human experience through words. He tirelessly travels the state, hosting poetry workshops and open mics where he encourages everyone to write it real and write it raw. He's the author of 2 collections of poetry, has been featured in numerous anthologies, is the former president of the Poetry Society of Indiana and founder of Gut Punch Literary Journal. The mic is yours, John. Punch away.
I think you're on mute, John.
How's that?
Better, thanks.
I lost myself there for a second. I'm all right now. Amber, a shade of ghost, haunting soft glow of faded memory. It's strange how often you come to me. I catch you peering through the veil of ordinary. You look at me without eyes, without form. I'm not frightened. I just don't understand what you want. Is it only to be remembered? As if I could forget? I'm tempted to remind you what you took from me, but you're already suffering your fate. What would be the point? I hate that you suffered in life, that you're tormented in death. But I remind you I'm here when you need me, just as I was there when you chose not to need me. Visit as often as you like. My heart is always open to you. You are still beautiful, even in your corpse cold state. I feel the warmth of your inextinguishable fire.
I think you lost your video.
It's okay. You don't need to see me. I'm not that pretty. A pinch of what if, a dash of why not. Life kitchen and I'm cooking, experimenting, discovering, taking the mundane, transforming it into marvelous things. People say I don't have that kind of time. They consume the barely palatable minimal, the flavorless expedient, then mope about complaining they have no appetite for living. Not me. I'm searching for spices and salt. So many shelves to explore, this world a never-ending store, and I'm eager to taste everything with a singular goal, to die corpulent and satisfied. I cannot afford the loss. I've paid and paid myself to destitution. Hope is a whore, a prostitute, a high-end call girl, and I keep spending and spending pennies, dimes, and dollars. Why? What is it about hope that drives me to sacrifice everything for it, knowing it can all be lost in a moment? Maybe it's just the sex. You know, I think a lot of times that we write so many things about ideals, and we forget sometimes to write the reality of things. And I lost my dad, who was really my best friend, and I really wanted to pour out a reminder to him the other day about a few things that were going on in the world. Hey, Dad, remember that little spring you used to get water from? Kind of a nowhere place. You should see it now. A big park has been built around it. The well is covered by a cute gazebo. Hey, Dad, I've been trying to find that church we used to go to, the one on the 2-lane highway, not much else around. Pretty sure it doesn't exist anymore. Think there's an upscale mall where it used to sit, and more stores than you can possibly imagine surround it. Hey, Dad, I was looking for that little campground where we had our camper. So many changes over the years. I wandered roads trying to find my way back. I think it's a golf course now. No trace of the big white barn where we used to get wood for the fires. So many changes over the years. Nothing's really the same. Some call it progress. I call it loss. For all we have today, we've lost too much to gain it. Hey, Dad, they still do sell zero candy bars and French burnt peanuts. My last one for you, a little esoteric, a little metaphysical. I was born older than my father, tuned to a higher frequency, aware of wavelengths he did not comprehend, possessing intelligences he could not fathom. My father did not understand me. I was born the same age as my mother, synchronized to her vibration, aligned on a plane of cosmic knowledge, sharing perceptions others find uncomfortable. My mother never knew me. Living incomprehensible, living unknown, living lost, living enigma, living question, no answer, no explanation, no identity. They say there's a signal coming to us from deepest infinity. Perhaps my mother or my father. Maybe that which understands me, that which may help me understand myself. I just wonder if it will be able to hold me. Thanks so much for letting me be a part of this process. Chris is very generous because I've had a death in the family and we're trying to navigate around that. And so I wanted to be here to join with you all, but I'm going to tell you goodbye so that I can go spend time with my family at this time. So thank you for allowing me to speak with you.
Thank you so very much, John, especially with everything that's going on right now. I truly, truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
So before I turn it back over to Deborah, I will finish with a poem from my new book called Pyre. It's called Old Ladies and Looms. I look at headlines and words jump off the page. Ripped, divided, torn. About my mother. I walk to work past throwaway people that life used harshly before using them up. And I think about her loom. My mother wove rag rugs, collecting cast-off clothes, outdated styles, ripped jeans, stained shirts, things that no longer worked for their intended use, still had use to her. I'd sit with my knitting, watching her cut away stiff seams, saving every inch to tear into strips before rolling them together into colorful balls. We'd talk while she worked, me knitting to a prescribed pattern, hers making hers up, winding the shuttles with reclaimed denim and chenille to be remade into a new whole. My needles would click with their knit purl knit staccato while I watched her choose the warp, thick fingers threading the heddles, using the mathematics of love to pick the pattern that ultimately bound the rugs. Sometimes we'd sit in silence, me counting stitches while she counted inches and feet by the back and forth rhythm and the beating of the beam. We'd laugh as I ripped out my mistakes, thinking things had to be perfect and right. Her mistakes, though not many, became part of the weave, adding a unique beauty to every piece. At home, I'd fight with my finished work, stretching and pulling as I blocked it into shape. In her basement, she tied and trimmed the fringe before placing it on a table to relax into its final size. My mother was a weaver, a practical woman who never threw anything away. She chose to remake the useless and beautify the ugly, where others saw only trash. I look at the headlines before leaving for work, smile at the people I pass as I walk. And I'm not thinking about ways of knitting things back together. I am daydreaming of old ladies weaving red rugs on their looms. Thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris, Curtis, Ron, and John. That was lovely, especially John, who joined us under such trying circumstances. Our condolences. So my group is up next. I am going to present a group of poets who read at Jack Jack's Coffee House. I'm on the board of the Babylon Village Arts Council, and they promote poetry and the arts throughout our little village of Babylon. And one of the things they do is poetry in the village on the first Thursday of every month. And our current home is a tiny little artsy bohemian coffee shop. We every first Thursday we have one featured poet, and then we have a huge open mic, and it is an awesome community of poets that get together there once a month. So I'm excited to bring you 3 of them. The first one is Lisa James. Lisa has been published in several publications, including Long Island Quarterly, which, by the way, is edited by George Wallace, Oberon Review, and others. She is the author of Nature, Sometimes Human, published by JAL Publications, and The Ties That Bind, published by Words with Wings Press. She has been nominated for a pushcart. And on a personal note, while I was poet laureate, I did something called Poetry in Action, and Lisa ran an open mic fundraiser with me to raise money for a local cat rescue called Shabby Tabby. And she is always the first poet at Jack Jack's. No matter how early I get there, I cannot arrive before her on the first Thursday. Please welcome Lisa James.
Thank you, Deb. And thank you to all the poets who have read. It's been a wonderful experience. And speaking of cats, my personal assistant is right here. My first 2 poems are going to involve New York City. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Long Island or with the New York City region, Long Island is basically a giant sandbar that hangs off the eastern end of New York City. And we get there, my husband and I get there at least several times a year. And the quote in the beginning of this one poem was, "As I heard it," exactly as I heard it. And I just said, wow, there's a poem in there somewhere. And it's called Overheard at the Irish Hunger Memorial, New York City. "The Irish famine made the Holocaust look like a walk in the park," she said, "as though all the world's mass sufferings were like kindergartners during show and tell, jumping up and down, yelling, 'Pick me, me.' Our dyings were the most ghastly, our enemies the most beastly, the forgotten ones elbowed to the back and sitting dejected at their desks. Sometimes the idea of 8 billion with a B people seems implausible given all the wars and prison camps and epidemics and famines, to say nothing of the quakes and floods, the dead of each and their thousands and tens of thousands and millions long gone to rot and ash, save for the places where the bodies continue to pile in heaps in windrows, whether the world watches or not. But the woman wasn't thinking of the newly minted tragedies. Just one a safe century and a half or so back, the one her ancestors survived and that somehow today justifies her existence. Across the street, backlit by the late afternoon autumn in New York sun, a laughing blonde girl threw crumbs to the pigeons, a small kindness in a world of so many grotesque agonies. But small kindnesses are kind just the same, and the pigeons, in their own uneffusive way, were grateful. The second poem I'm going to be reading about New York City is somewhat longer. There was an elevated railroad in a downtown district that used to be called the meatpacking. Well, it's still called the meatpacking district because they used to actually pack meat there. Nobody does that sort of thing in downtown New York anymore. And they were wondering what to do with this thing. And somebody climbed up there and said, "Holy cow, look, flowers." And now they've turned it into a very high off the ground, very narrow public park that is one of the biggest tourist attractions in New York. God bless New York City. They do that sort of thing. And this is called Walking the High Line, New York City. 1. I am wandering south on the High Line. It is a lush summer Sunday, and the path is a pulsating throng, and the air smells of sticky sweets, old fry oil, humid city wind. I pass through a section labeled Prairie, as if a bed of black-eyed Susans 3 stories above 23rd Street could be any less pampered than the gardens at Versailles. Hard to believe this domesticated space was once urban wilderness, all goldenrod, milkweed, Queen Anne's lace. Nature's exuberant run riot where carcasses in their bloody stink had come clattering into the old meatpacking plants, tracks elevated to reduce carnage in the chaos below, an endless scurry serving warehouses and wharves, hard by docks from where oystermen set out to drudge the muck of New York Harbor, mining cheap fuel for Europe's desperate migrants. 2. At Gansevoort, I descend to Little Island, an artifice of hills and valleys, concrete footings sunk into the riverbed, a fairy tale public playground, only made possible by private money in our neo-Gilded Age. Below, a duck dabbles amid splintered pilings in the pea-green murk, remains of the dark abandoned docklands, sexual funhouse, danger rubbing shoulders with pleasure, decades before Manhattan's bright Disneyfication. 3. I carefully navigate the cobblestones at Gansevoort and 9th. They're a chic retro touch, faux whimsy, the only meatpacking now, young bodies, clean, well-dressed, soft-handed, loudly jamming the bars. And I'm going to end with another poem from The Ties That Bind. The heart of the book is a series of poems about my family. This is the only poem where all 3 protagonists appear. My father and mother, both dead now a number of years, and my sister, who is still my younger sister, who's still very much with us. And this poem is called How I Wound Up in the Basement. I'm not sure what it was like to make instrument strings all day, 5 days a week, but that's what my sister did when I was in college. I'm positive it was dirtier and hotter than the library's intense cool. My microfilm readers were swallowed by her factory's clamor. In that she had more in common than I with the tinsmith father she defied, leaving Farmingdale High and her sister's bookish footsteps, but for the capping and gowning of all our parents' hopes. He, a trade school attendee, she, the first of a brood to graduate high school unclaimed by a poor household's obligations. grandmother cleaning Manhattan hotel rooms by night to keep her American dream alive. In those years of higher education, my sister learned that money meant enveloping fatigue and early bedtimes. She asked my Manuel Smith Corona banished to the utility room for her want of sleep. I obliged, clacking term papers at midnight, youth's oblivion dimming all that lay between us. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce C.J. Colligan, They, Them, Theirs, a queer transgender poet and a Babylon, Long Island, New York local. They received their BA in creative writing from SUNY Binghamton and their master's in education from Touro College. They've been writing poetry for as long as they can remember. Their first official publication was in Highlights Children magazine in 2002. Their most recent publication was in the Central Avenue 2024 Poetry Prize book. CJ can be found on Instagram at CJ Wright, and there are some underscores in there, so I'll pop it in the chat for you. CJ has become a regular at Jack Jack's, and they will be our featured poet in December. Please welcome CJ Colligan.
Thank you so much, Deb. It's an honor to be here with everyone, reading their poetry, and it's just been stunning to hear from everyone today. To get a quick little vote, would you rather have a short, funny one first, or my very long personal one, Deb?
Long personal one.
All right, here we go. We're gonna get very personal right now. Okay, 1 second. This poem is from a chapbook I'm trying to put together. Hopefully I'll have it done by December when I'm going to be featured at Jack Jack. So crossing fingers, I can light a fire under my own butt and get this done. But this is a long poem. I think it'll take my whole 8 minutes. And it's called Prayers to Catholic Virgin Martyr Saints from a Queer Transgender Witch. So here we go. 1. Saint Agatha of Sicily. You with lips of honey, they broke the bread of your body, crunched your sugar bones, severed your creamy breasts, your nipples bright maraschino cherries. In 5th grade's brief day of sex ed, I learned that the flat, uneven dough of my chest would one day rise, my body a cake for men to have and consume, suck granules of love from me while calling me sweetie. Saint Agatha, Blessed Virgin, did you too see girls stuff their training bras while you looked down and saw only the hair that grew thick as a dark forest around your navel and down to your thighs that constantly friction? Saint Agatha, Blessed Martyr, when your body finally bloomed into a curving flower of flesh and blood flowed like lava down your unshaved legs, did you ever think of yourself as a walking earthquake, a natural disaster, a freak act of the divine? At age 20, I bound my breasts down with compression bandages, and like that constriction of the sin snake, squeezed my bones to the point of pain, but that pain was lesser than the one I felt than when I looked into the mirror and saw my creamy breasts, my nipples bright maraschino cherries. 2. St. Agnes of Rome. You with hair curly as lamb's wool, each strand numbered by the divine, flowed down to cover your body, a warm golden fleece, to protect you from the naked eyes of the crowd. In a busy hair salon overlooking Main Street, Babylon, my mother held my hand. As age 13, I donated 6 inches of my hair, which I had called mermaid length because it covered my breasts, just newly encased in a real bra. Saint Agnes, Blessed Virgin, did you too have a middle school teacher who said a girl's pride is her hair? A teacher who regularly pitted boys against girls in class to prove which gender was smarter? Saint Agnes, Blessed Martyr, would you have thought that the cutting of hair has been compared to circumcision? I felt no loss, no gain as my locks fell, just a lightness and chill at the back of my neck. At age 20, after 2 more hair donations in the same salon, I took my hair numbered by the divine and had it cut at the nape. not to donate, but to feel the lightness and chill at the back of my neck, a bearing of a body unashamed. 3, St. Barbara of Nicomedia. Your gunpowder eyes, storm eyes, revealed your tri-windowed heart, chambers for the divine. The ivory pale tower of your throat housed a voice as thunder, tongue pickaxe sharp in your mouth cave. My smile sank as a cannonball when at age 16, a girl in blue wouldn't dance with me. I tried to mine through the meaning of infatuation and girl crush in hopes of lightening clarity as the word love turned into a 4-lettered bomb. St. Barbara, Blessed Virgin, did you run quick as wildfire from that girl's hall locker, where you had placed a note sizzling with nerves, pen ink running as a fuse from her name to yours? St. Barbara, Blessed Martyr, did you snap your flint lips close? Did the ivory pale tower of your throat constrict, the spark of your silence thought of as defiance when your mouth was full of fire? At age 20, my hands brushed against my college roommates and I felt electric hot shame as she shouted, "I'm not a les." The tri-windowed chamber of my heart shrinking like a candle lit from both ends. 4, St. Catherine of Alexandria. Through the vein of love, the divine cartwheeled into your life, gave you the circumference of eternity, and you traded your cardboard crown for a ring encircling your finger. At age 16 in the dark, I wanted to stop the stars wheeling from night to day to night to day to night. The sun was an unwelcome pet in my bedroom, a slobbering golden dog licking my eyes open. St. Catherine, Blessed Virgin, did you wonder about the story of Medusa, where her severed neck became a bloody canal for the virgin birth of monsters, whether bleeding wrists could birth the same? St. Catherine, Blessed Martyr, did you ever dress for bed in a pure white gown, blowing out candles so your cats wouldn't get burned, more concerned from then than for tomorrow, as you paved your tongue with pills? At age 20, I watched the Wheel of Fortune with my family, a nightly ritual in front of a glowing TV. The answer, Pegasus, rolled from my lips, born from Medusa's bloody brood, a beautiful monstrosity flying high from the past. 5, St. Cecilia of Rome. Your heart was an orchestra, an instrument for the divine, organ, harp, flute, violin, all singing bright as birdsong, bright as a sword, bright as an angel on fire. At age 17, I sat on a too soft couch, sinking almost as low as my depression. My therapist wanted me to speak, to sing, my throat closed tight, silent as my heart continued to play a dirge. St. Cecilia, Blessed Virgin, did you ever compose lyrical confessions, false as the moon, false as a heart, just so your therapist would stop plucking at the strings of your guilt? St. Cecilia, Blessed Martyr, as you sang for 3 days, your throat thrice cut, did the music of your blood, the slowing drum beat, glorify the pure white virtue of death, the beauty of a pearl necklace of maggots? At the age 20, the steamed mirror after a shower, I saw the reflection of my body obscured. From the neck down, I was a flat, thin ghost, and I realized the rhythmic effort of existing. Continuing to breathe wasn't as hard as I'd once thought. 6, St. Lucy of Syracuse. Can you see this world from your cloudy perch? Whatever light that may shine from your eyes, your candled hair, your hands, starlight still takes decades more to reach and strike quick flash. At age 18, during my first night away at college, a boy who I had just met tried to kiss me, his face flashing quick and terrible under the bile light of a lamppost. St. Lucy, Blessed Virgin, did you call your mother, your eyes waxing full of tears, her words static fuzzed by the distance, but still clearly said, "He's not a monster, he just likes you too much"? St. Lucy, Blessed Martyr, your eyes were plucked out, but did you still see his face in your mind and the quick flash of his smile in the darkness decades after? At age 20, in the yellow bile light of a stained glass window, I saw myself enlightened as something shattered, the divine, a light I constantly reached for, close enough to blind, but always leaving me in shadows. 7, St. Margaret of Antioch, I swallowed you alive. Yet what you carried in hand, call it a crucifix, call it a sword, they are all weapons one and the same. From cavernous maw to cavernous maw, you split me from the inside, still choking on the train of your dress. At age 20, I never would have thought how the cavernous maw of time would change so much of me, And yet still, I am surprised by every bite. St. Margaret, Blessed Virgin, by whatever name you're called, Marina, Martha, the Dominator, the Dragon Slayer, did you ever question who put you between the dragon's teeth in the first place? St. Margaret, Blessed Martyr, I take my little crucifix in hand and place it on the shelf. Supposedly, the divine took 7 days to create eternity. I'm taking the eternal serpentine cycle of struggle and biting it off at the tail. At age 30, I shed what no longer serves me, like so much old snake skin. I hold close my scarred chest, the rainbow faceted spectrums of joy. I am me, I am mine. As it is within, so it is without, and so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, CJ. And my third reader for Jack Jacks is Sarah Goodman, who was the 2024-2026 Suffolk County Teen Laureate and is a junior at Comac High School. She's been published in various anthologies and magazines. She's organized numerous programs, open mics, and the first annual Suffolk Youth Poetry Competition for students throughout Suffolk. I've worked with Sarah on numerous projects during her first year as Teen Laureate. Sometimes poets are only good at poetry and they don't know how things work in the real world, but Sarah knows how to get things done in the real world. So she's got all the skills she needs. I'm very impressed with her. And besides her poetry and besides being able to organize things and bring people together, she's just extremely kind and generous and is always finding ways to support the teen poetry community. Please welcome Sarah Goodman.
Thank you, Deborah. And hello to everyone. It's so good to be able to be here and read with you tonight. My first poem is called The Marina, which I wrote during one of the artistic kinds of days at the Northport Marina. There's a green grass field by the docks, onto which a momentary glance of sunlight hits and sprays, like the satiny waves of the water onto concrete rocks, where time seems to gradually still, and dogs run about, and little children twirl and shout, like the headstrong winds against flagpost on harsh winter days. Across the bay, sailboats sway on the waves, and mussel finders haul a load to crack open shells that fell, which, in turn, are scattered upon the ever-vast bayshore. Just down the way, shops crop up in an endless row, a variety not unlike its people whom I know. And from atop the hill, the waters seem an endless depth of satin-top gray-blue well. And on the green grass field by the bay, there's a certain charisma which I can't quite name, watching poets spin sugared words like dancers spin to tune, and painters splash their color-stained water on the sills as time seems to still. My second poem is called The First Stargazer. The first stargazer was not a man, not a woman, not human at all. Far before the common era, a single-celled mother faced the sky and saw a reflection of her lineage, of her ancestors and her descendants, of her mother, her daughter, and herself. She saw innumerable dots of light, framed by clouds of cerulean, emeralds, and magenta, and did not have a name for it, nor any desire to force it into a label of her sole creation. She did not gaze on in wonder. Back then, the night sky was no unusual marvel to behold. 'Twas only the ocean up high, parallel to her home, and a memory of her origin. She did not know she was stardust. Stardust was yet unnamed. She knew she was one with the water around her, the organisms below her, the rocks that lined the coast, and there, the pinpricks of blazing heat above. Not yet had she faced division, nor named herself two different ways, which, generations after her, became a translation mistake, an illusion to make offspring seem separate when they were truly the same. No, then she was whole. She had no eyes nor brain, no orientation nor identity. She did not look at the sky the way we do now, demanding answers from our past. She did not look at all. Still, she understood the universe far more than we ever will by not demanding of it at all. By simply existing as stardust condensed, she was the first stargazer. My third poem is called Winter Wither, which is part of a greater collection of poems, which I call the Four Seasons. Nothing here withers, nor there does die. Though death has settled in the icy river, it flows on forward and passes us by. Time ne'er slows, the river flows, what's dead has long forgone life. Time ne'er slows, the winds will blow, and what little survives will thrive. The canvas made white anew, the long night in preparation for day, the beginning of the end again. Nothing here withers, nothing there stays. My last poem is called Musings on Time. It's one of my personal favorites. And this poem was very greatly inspired by my sophomore year, and I feel it is all the more relevant now that I've hit the horrific junior year. 1 year, 2, 3 years, 5. It's a strange feeling when you realize the years are flying by, and suddenly you're not 10, and schooling's coming to an end while you're trying to pretend you don't still feel 5 or 10 again. For a while, I tried to understand why the days come together and weeks feel like days, and why my peers' times are normal while time seems to pass me by. And then I realized there is no explanation life can give besides time's a bystander. It doesn't give any indication of its movements, and maybe I was more attuned to it when I was younger, and stressors and deadlines ceased to exist. Time stares you silently in the eyes and dares you to try to feel like you can dare dance along with it. And when you try to step back in time, time spins you back to when you were 5, 3, 11, 9, 10 years, 20 years have passed you by as you've tried to waltz with something ineffable, incomprehensible besides what you already knew of it. And perhaps that's why I was such a mature child. Maybe time had dipped a more mature me back into myself for a while, and perhaps that's where my years went, but back to myself before I could understand that time's a bystander of the worst kind. It doesn't slow down as it sees the crime, it just keeps on going and going and going and going and going round some more. Time doesn't look back once it closes the door and opens up some more and closes them again. Time's my enemy, my lover, my mother, my friend. Time doesn't console me or act gently in its means or for its ends, but time is a bystander. And it is not required to do any of these things, though we may feel it would be nicer. In the end, time is a bystander.
Thank you, Sarah. I will share 2 short poems with you to wrap up. Rising, all the way up there at the top, the Ferris wheel, you on your knees sliding the ring onto my finger, swaying together, we thought we'd never come down. Autumn jazz, leaves flutter and shimmy like a fringed flapper, newly bobbed and banged, swinging herself free at the edge of the dance hall bar. Thank you so much to everyone. Thank you to George Wallace. Thank you to Walt Whitman Birthplace. Thank you to Caitlyn. Thank you to Bonnie for the technical assistance. Thank you to all the compares and their readers, Mick and Chris, all the poets who read, everyone who tuned in to listen. Let's keep the connection going. If you heard something you liked, go online and buy that poet's book or follow that poet on social media and let's stay connected. George will be back with the next Poets Building Bridges on November 8th at 12 p.m., which is the usual time, 12 to 2. And he will be presenting poets from Brevitas, New York City, Collapse Press, and poets from Turkey, Turkish poets. So that is, that wraps it up. Bonnie, you can stop recording, and but we'll leave the Zoom open for a little bit in case people want to talk.